Hey, what's up, guys? Ash here, Nation 1033. Today we are going to go over kind of an overview of DoD, or otherwise known as Duel of Dominance. It's very similar to Triangle War. Not quite the same, but similar. You guys will basically, set up a defense among all of your players. You'll be able to use items, and you'll fight other teams essentially. So let's go into some of the big picture stuff, right? So DoD is a multi-alliance cross-nation event, and the top four alliances of every nation will be invited no matter what. And this is interesting, right? Because most nations, at best, you might have a top three, and so your top four is usually going to be like a academy or something, and that means that during the qualifier rounds, which is group matches, there's a good chance that you'll be able to qualify because if you're a top alliance, because you'll just be fighting, an academy here or there. So I wouldn't say it's easy to qualify, but I don't think my alliance has ever not qualified being a top alliance, right? And for an academy, obviously, it would be very difficult to qualify. Could you do it? Probably. But maybe then, if you can qualify as an academy, maybe you shouldn't be in the academy. Like I don't know. That's a weird thing. Also important to note, the event is a no loss event, so there's really no reason to not deploy your units here. Now, whether or not your units actually get used is a different story. We'll go into that in a little bit. So it's tournament style. You start doing group matches. Group matches have a total of 4 rounds with 2 battles in each round. And most importantly, the top four alliances with the most points will enter the knockouts. The knockouts are essentially the finals. The knockouts have a total of 5 rounds with 1 battle in each round. The winner of each round qualifies for the next round, and the losing side gets knocked out. So this part of it is different than Triangle War, right? Where in Triangle War, if you get to the finals and let's say you come in last on the first event, you can still do the next two events, and if you win both of those, like if you take 3 points, you could get 1 point for losing, and then 3 points and 3 points for winning, and end up, in kind of third place, which is interesting. And DoD, when you're out, you're out. That's it. So when if you guys do get to the finals, you do kind of want to go ham every round that you possibly can, right? Um, and so to kind of piggyback off that, in group matches right here. So we're in group match right now, and knockout hasn't started, right? So everyone is qualifying. And you can see there's 9 alliances. Ours is PHX, and then there's 8 others with us. And so some of these are pretty strong, right? So for example, our alliance is at 945 million battle power. Kill is at 875. Killer is at 600. BST 567, SKH 542. And so, they get weaker and weaker. And then, if you go all the way down to the bottom here, mod is 172, P2U Academy, right? This is what I was talking about earlier. These guys are not going to qualify. There's just, unless you put, unless as a joke, a whale got into it and then just, went and destroyed everyone or something, right? But they're not going to qualify. These Knuckles guys, they're definitely not going to qualify. And so, you know, I would say there's certainly some competition for maybe like the fourth or maybe even sometimes the third slot. You can see in our bracket, the top three are fairly set, right? And so right here, like I was saying, BST and SKH very close in points, and they will be fighting it out for that fourth slot. But I will say, if you're fighting it out for qualifier, you probably won't get very far in the finals, right? So, there's a question of, do you spend all that money to get to the finals only to get knocked out anyway? That's up to you guys, right? But so we have fought, and you can look at your battle record down here. So we've done 2 rounds so far. Each round is versus 2 different alliances, right? So 2 days ago, August 1st, we fought TDG and KLR. KLR is actually really strong, and they had a whale. in there that was unbelievably strong, and that's why we ended up only getting like 600 points. And then TDG is not that strong, right? So, we got a good what is that, like 12, almost 1300 points out of that. And so, because you fight two at a time, the max you can get, if you guys look at yesterday's match, is 672 from each one, which comes out to 1344 is the max points you can get per round, right? And we fought SKH and won, and then we're currently in match with Can and BST. So if you look at your schedule, we fought Can, we fought One, we fought TDG, we fought SKH, we fought BST, and we fought KLR. We still have to fight Kill, who's the strongest in our bracket, and we have to fight Mod, who is the weakest in the bracket. So from here, you can, if you're R5 or R4 and you're looking at this from the big picture, you can kind of understand that we're going to clear Mod, right? Like I don't need to look at them to know that we're going to clear them. So you can add those 672 points. Now, Kill might be a totally different story, but there's a good chance that no matter what, either we're going to end up first, second, or third, right? Because we know we're going to kill Mod, and we'll have like 4,500 points just from that, and we'll get close to etching, 5,000 depending on how well we do against Kill. But I don't see us having any issue, and I don't see KLR having any issue, and I don't see Kill having any issue. So the top three are kind of set, if that makes sense. And really, the question will be who are BST and SKH fighting, and who's going to get that fourth slot. But even when they get that fourth slot, they're going to get knocked out probably immediately in the next round. So that's big picture view, right? Um, let's go to the stuff that I guess most players will really attach to. So there are 7 districts with 10 strongholds each. So let's go look at that really quick, right? Here are your 7 districts, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then there's 10 slots each. And the white is worth the least amount of points, followed by green, blue, purple, then orange. So if they take an orange, it's a lot of points. And points are not designated on here from kills. It's all how far you can make within the stronghold, right? And so if you're an R5, R4, I'll give like a quick overview of what probably the 3 most common strategies are. Number 1, and I use this for qualifiers, right? You put your strongest players up front. And what this does is if they can't break through your front line, then they get no points, and that really, kind of just hammers them out. And so you don't have to worry about them coming back up for points, when you go on to a different round against somebody else. This works very well in qualifier rounds because, if an academy goes up against a top alliance, they're never going to touch beyond this first row. It's just not going to happen, right? However, I don't find that this is particularly a good strategy against, stronger alliances. So, like for example, in knockouts, finals, I would actually take, my player and our strongest might be in the back, right? And the reason for that is that you can use your weaker players with like landmines and stuff to loosen them up before they get to you is the idea, right? That doesn't mean it'll work, but that's the idea is that you weaken them, weaken them, weaken them, and then when they finally get to your strongest players, then they have to go through you, right? So the number 2 strategy would be weakest up front and then strongest in the back. And in DoD, you have to go forward on the path. You can't skip any direction. So, regardless of what stronghold you attack, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you have to start at 1 and you have to clear all the way up into the 10th slot, no matter what. And you can't skip, you can't start at G1 and then go to G6. You have to go to G2. It's not a choice. So, those are the first 2 strategies, and I would say those are most common. I would say number 3 strategy would be to be completely random. And that actually helps. that can mess up a really kind of tactical, strategical alliance where, like if I see super strong players on the first row, I know that if I punch through that, it's going to be all weaker players towards the back, right? So I know that, hey, we're all going to focus just A1, poison gas him to weaken him, then bust through and then take out that entire stronghold, right? I also know that if I see nothing but weaker players, right, on the first row, that we are probably in for it later on down the road, and that means to me save your stronger players for last, because they're going to have to be able to fight and beat their stronger players, right? But when you randomize stuff, like let's just say I go here, it really messes up, any kind of tactician or strategist because you don't know what to expect, right? So maybe there's a medium strength here, a weak player here, and then a monster in A3. And it's just like, oh man, I wasn't expecting this. You can catch some players off guard by doing that. And sometimes people won't even, there will be no strategy, and that kind of falls into the number 3 randomized anyway. But yeah, I would personally recommend strongest up front for qualifiers, strongest in the back for finals, and then, if you're feeling ballsy, I guess random, or if you're feeling lazy, random. But yeah, that's kind of a high level look at it. So let's see if there's anything else we should really hit here. Yeah, total number. So you guys know that there's 7 districts with 10 strongholds, right? That's a total of 70 slots. Only 60 commanders can enter the battlefield for each battle. And whoever is set for defense formation can attack, right? So just because you might have players that are stronger than one of the ones you have listed doesn't necessarily mean you should deploy them, because if they're not active or they can't get an attack in, what you want is your attackers. That's what really matters. The defenders, I mean, everything kind of matters, but in the defense you can probably use some really powerful items to kind of push the scale in your favor, but on offense, totally different story. um and so, we've deployed our active players wherever possible, but you you only get 60 out of your 70 slots, right? So you're gonna have some openings, and that's okay. It just happens out that way. Um, let's see what else. Not schedule, rules. There we go. Qualifications. Only commanders who complete their defense formation can join the attack. You must deploy troops before attacking, and you can only deploy 1 army per battle. All battles within the same round do not affect each other. After an attack on stronghold fails, your troops deployed for this battle will be killed, and you lose the ability to continue attacking. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. For just real quick, commanders who have joined the alliance for 1 or more days and have C15 or higher can join the battle. So that's kind of the first requirement. More importantly, who have joined the alliance for 1 or more days. You can't just hop to somebody else's alliance, that day and swap in. It doesn't work that way. And then you have to set a defense formation, and then you have to be deployed as well, right? And while we're on the topic, when you go to deploy your troops, it will take a snapshot for you, and this goes for defense as well as attack. So whatever the snapshot is the troops that you'll be using, right? So, when you go to deploy, you want to use your attack boost, you want to use your hit boost, you want to use your troop expansion, you want to use your fast expansion from commander skills, right? All the buffs that you can possibly think of. What I would recommend, and you should consider doing this in general anyway. Server time is up here, right? 23:30 server time is 30 minutes before reset for everyone, everywhere, in every nation, right? And so what I will normally do at 23:30 is set all of my buffs, and I will set my defense fleet, right? And then I will have an additional 30 minutes, for an hour buff, afterwards. So up until 0030 on server reset, you can then set your defense and your attack fleet while using just one set of buffs instead of trying to use, your defense fleet and attack fleet separately, if that makes sense. And your fast expansion's only up every 24 hours, right? So you can only get it once per day, and I just prefer to do it then. That's the easier way. Also, some really incredible buffs to have it are like Aeon's Breakthrough, and you can see that in some of the much stronger players, and you might not even be able to break their front row in some cases. So let's go over Tifa's donation station. So the short version of this is you can donate resources, food, oil, steel minerals, Z coins, and power ore. And if you donate it, you will get points. And once you get a set amount of points, you will get rewards. And part of those rewards are dominance permits. And these are tickets to buy items essentially in DoD. So even free to play players can technically get tickets to participate in DoD. Now, if you're a brand new nation, maybe you won't want to be dropping your minerals and steel. Like this is something that to actually max out on, you should probably be about C30. Uh, but it depends how aggressive are you guys towards winning. And that's an alliance question. So, but as you get each reward, you do get some items in here. So you can see a 45 firepower defense, right? Some other items in there, leadership badges, VIP points. That's nice. Feint. Feint is particularly good for weaker players. We'll go over that in a sec for items. Landmine is always good. But yeah, you can easily get, what is this? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 tickets. Not for free, but even a free to play player can get this. So would definitely recommend that. So let's go into items now. It's set up towards you have defensive items and you have attack items. Attack items are on the left, defense items are on the right, with the exception of this extra 45 firepower attack. What do I recommend defensively? Obviously, if you can afford it, for sure, on your weaker players, you want to be using landmine and damage reflect. Both are very good. I would actually recommend landmine towards the beginning and maybe damage reflect towards the middle. And the reason for that is that landmine kills 16% of the enemy troops at the start immediately, no matter how many units it is. So whether you're fighting some dude that's like got a 600,000 fleet, that's 16% right off the bat. And even if you stand no chance against him, he's going to lose those troops, and that's indispensable. And then as units, as players start to kind of weaken down, if they get towards your middle row, that's where damage reflect really comes in, because instead of doing just 16%, because 16% of, let's say, 600,000 is a lot of units dead right off the bat and against a very strong player. But 16% from 200,000 units is not that much, right? So that's where damage reflect comes in, and 10 seconds next battle, troops will reflect their damage, and this can be devastating to stronger players as well. The more damage you're dealing, the more you're killing yourself. So it's these two are really good and very good for kind of lower to mid tier players. Upper spenders. So I don't always recommend all-rounded army. It's nice because of the ticket cost, right? I would say by far the best item is probably all-out defense. 120% damage increase for first 14 seconds is insane. Even your Titans will kill entire units, and all-out defense is just. I would recommend that as your normal spend. Ultra Shield, not bad. Important to note, this is not absolute defense from Triangle War. Absolute defense in Triangle War is immunity to damage for 14 seconds or something like that. Ultra Shield is not. Grants a shield, 42% of the troops total hit, and rebounds 25% of the damage taken. So it's a combined reflect with some extra health. It's really I don't know. I don't like it. It's not that good. I would much rather have all-out defense. That's just me. All-rounded army, not bad. This really depends. If you're a lower to mid-tier player, you might not see much use in this because some monster or whale is just going to steamroll over you, where you would have done a lot more from a landmine for them just even coming towards you, right? So, yeah. All right, offense. So cheap offensive items, 45 firepower and 45 defense. Both of these are actually pretty good, and I use them pretty regularly to save tickets, and I will use these in the qualifier rounds, right? I would say the best item overall, no matter what, almost in almost in every battle, is poison gas. If they have a ton of units, this is going to murder them every single time, and there's not a whole lot they can do about it. It is 2.5% of troops every second for 10 seconds, or 25% of their entire fleet is going to be gone if you live 10 seconds, which most players should, but depending on the monster, you'd be surprised. Um, so as a whole, poison gas, like if you really not sure what you should be taking, it should be poison gas. Now, let's say you've wounded a monster with poison gas and you're trying to finish him off. If he's long range or mid range, middle row killer or back row killer, both are very good. Increases damage dealt to long range by 45% and reduces damage taken from enemies long range by 45%. That is massive, guys. That is massive. And all-rounded army, also pretty good. Pretty similar to all-rounded army defense. Defense gets 3% more to damage dealt and reduced damage taken. Electric field prison, unlike ultra shield, is unbelievably dumb. This is almost like a reverse absolute defense. All enemy troops can't attack or move for the first 16 seconds. This is almost a guaranteed loss, as far as I'm concerned. You would have to be the attacker would have to be horribly weak, and the defender would have to be horribly overpowered for this to not work, essentially. And I've seen that, but it is rare and it's kind of a waste. If you're going to spend that much money, you should be improving your city to be better for the next DoD than spending it on this, unless there's like you guys are in the finals, right? And you have a point to prove or something like that. But yeah, honorable mention to suicide attack. I know a lot of players probably wouldn't use this, but I would. I can gauge when I'm going to lose most of the time, right? Either from scouting or seeing other teammates go, and you're basically going to get a flat 55% damage increase, and then you'll die. And if you know you're going to lose, this isn't a bad idea. Generally, after enough poison gases on, like, let's say a really tough monster, then maybe you'll switch to, you just need to finish them off. Suicide attack might be it. And then finally, because I see this so often, Feint, goodness gracious. Let's read this. When attacking, send 50% of your troops to attack. That means half, guys. So half your army. This buff can only be used when your army is full. Takes effect one time. This is a default item that comes from the rewards, and I see players using it all the time, and I see even stronger players using this all the time, and it breaks my heart. What this was intended to do is for a lower tier player to attack with half their army. And keep in mind, when you attack with half your army, you're not going to have your Titans, you're not going to have your warplane. It's kind of pointless. But here's where you can get use out of it. If you're a lower tier player, and you should know where you are in your nation. So an example, our nation, our strongest are C34, our average are about C30, and then our weakest are about C26, right? So in our nation, if I could get a C26 player in my alliance to use Feint on, let's say, a stronger player that has damage reflect on, this is a one-time use, right? So basically, he feints with full army. His army's kind of a joke. He absorbs the enemy's damage reflect, right? And then that's gone. And then a stronger player comes in, clears that guy that had the damage reflect, And then for the next attack, he goes in and let's say he hits with the poison gas on the next attack, right? And then kills a ton of players. Probably still loses because he only had half his army. But then that, he might have absorbed another landmine or another damage reflect and poisoned them and weakened them, and this is kind of how lower tier players can be really effective in DoD. And that's really important because this is an alliance team fight for sure. The more that the alliance works together, the better it is. So there's a great use for Feint. Unfortunately, it's best used by lower tier players, and lower tier players tend to not understand the game as well. So I would take some time to potentially explain this if you're a leader within your alliance, right? Speaking of which, so if you are a leader, you are able to set your defense. You're able to move everybody around. This is R5, R4 only. Um, and just important to note that only they can do that and move your defense as needed, right? So good to keep in mind. Charge. This is kind of cool too. So you can add tickets and it will increase your attack, defense, damage, right? It's kind of like in Polar if you've gotten to work with that, but it affects every alliance member. This can be pretty cool. And you can see in a contribution rating who has put up the most contribution. So like, for example, General Gore here, he's, I think, C24 player. So even though maybe he's not very strong for our alliance, he is giving stats to all of our alliance, right? And he's contributing more than anybody else, and that's really cool. That you can add to that. So that's important note for players that are trying to contribute, but maybe they don't have much at the time. Um, yeah. So let's go see what does the battleground actually look like. So this is how the battleground actually looks. This is your side. This is their side. Can you look? Yeah, you can look at your side. So right here, I'm in A1 right now apparently, and you can see what's there. We have vacant towards the back, right? Um, but on the enemy side, we've cleared most everything. Oh, it looks like somebody took out the guy I was going to try and finish, but I guess somebody else wanted. Oh, wait, I'm looking at the wrong one. Here we go. So normally you will not see what the next one is, so you have to go to E1, then E2, then E3. You can't skip any of those, and you won't be able to tell who they are. You can scout for a set amount of points, 10 tickets for one scout. And I think triangle, you get 2 scouts. DoD, you only get 1 per alliance, right? So that's another important part. When you go to deploy your attack troops, go ahead and deploy to both when you're buffed. And you can always come back later because again, it takes the snapshot. That this is the amount that I have when I have troop expansion and all that stuff, right? Once you've deployed, you don't have to attack right away. You can attack, later on that day, especially if you're a monster and all that. So, um, but yeah, so what's neat and what players really need to get used to is reading reports. Um, so you can check out reports on what's going on. So I know the only player that's left is this guy, 1096 BST Tin Cup, right? And he's got all-rounded army, and he's been killing it. And he's pretty strong, 820 LRA. He's actually almost exactly as strong as I am, which is kind of weird. You don't normally run into that. But so obviously, Subo here attacked, and he only had 180 LRA, and you can tell he didn't do much damage, and that's not surprising. But if you were to take I want to show a good poison gas example because this is one of the core fundamentals for DoD as an alliance. Where is Muff? Is Muff on here? Here he is, Captain Savaho. All right. So here's Muff. He's fighting BST Andre, right? And he brought poison gas, and Andre has all-rounded army, and Andre's army is pretty good. 700 LRA, 450 melee hip as just a quick reference, right? and then Muff is 330 LRA, so he's not even half the strength of this guy, which obviously normally leads to an unbelievably bad battle, right? And we can take a look at it really quick. But notice the poison gas going off. You see it ticking every second, destroying units. And so, yes, Muff loses, but one of the ways to equalize fighting insane players is with items like poison gas, right? So 2.5% every second, 10 seconds, 25% if you live 10 seconds long, gone. He had 338,000, which if you divide by 4, that's like 25% of 338 is like 85,000 units. So Muff only actually killed 15,000, but because of the poison gas, he actually killed 100,000, right? And that's how you beat stronger players. Now there's a few, key items that can change that, but as a whole, this is essentially what you want to be doing with players that are very difficult to beat, right? And so my alliance has been weakening this guy for me to fight at E10, and he's down to, gosh, is that the last one? No, Hellboy. See, Hellboy hit with poison gas as well. I think I can beat this guy. It'll be really close. Let's go ahead and do it. So I've already fought a few monsters, and my remaining units is not much. We're actually fairly close. So let's go ahead and do this. I wonder, should I bring? He's got 200,000. As you gas players more, the less you need gas, right? Because 25% of 80,000 is what, 20,000 units. So it's really not that much. This would actually be a pretty good slot to do suicide on. I kind of want a poison gas though. Yeah, let's go ahead and poison gas. This is generally the best item that you can use. There's specific scenarios for back row killer and mid row killer, and obviously, you hate somebody electric field prison, but in general, poison gas will normally win out. So let's go ahead and do it and see what's left, because we're both pretty wounded. Hopefully I can beat this guy. Ooh, it's close. He's got a strong front row. Once that front row is gone, it's over. He's going to be dead so fast. You can see they're collapsing right now, yeah. So my front row's gone, his front row's gone. Right. Nice. So with that, we have cleared all of BST, which is awesome, right? So we've gotten 672 points. And that's the goal, right? So this is just the qualifier rounds, and I'm like I mentioned earlier, we're almost guaranteed to go into the knockout rounds. Knockout rounds are slightly different, and you can expect players to spend more, right? So you'll see a lot more all-out defense and landmines and strategy as a whole. But yeah, this is a rough idea of DoD. Also, kind of cool, they recently released Guardian Wings, which is basically a Gundam for those of you that watch anime, and it's great looking. It's cool. It's not much different in terms of stat value from what's it called, the other Titan male skin, but it is pretty neat to see, and I do like how it shows up on the screen as well. This is pretty savage, man. He's just like curb stomping this guy. Pretty cool. It is kind of pricey. If you spend $50, you'll get 25 fragments, which means in 4 DoDs or $200, you would get the actual unlock for this. It's kind of pricey, but you do get a few other things with it too, badge chests and stuff. And if you guys really want to help your alliance win, you should be spending some money, whatever is possible for your own budget, right? And if it's not possible for your budget, then you need to be going to Tifa's donation station and using those items when it matter. I have personally told my alliance, hey, we don't need you guys to go ham on qualifier rounds. We are more than likely going to qualify, save all those items later on for the finals when it really matters, right? So anyway, yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I know this one was kind of long, but I hopefully gave a pretty good explanation of what's going on here. That's it for today. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and talk to you later.